Welcome to Duck Season Somewhere podcast. This episode is brought to you by the following sponsors. GetDucks.com, your proven source for the very best waterfowl hunting adventures. Argentina, Mexico, 6 whole continents worth. For 2 decades, we've delivered real duck hunts for real duck hunters. And USHuntlist.com, because the next great hunt is closer than you think. Search our database of proven U.S. and Canadian outfits. Contact them directly with confidence. Trust is earned. By the numbers, 121 waterfowl subspecies bagged on 6 continents, 20 countries, 36 U.S. states, and growing. I spend upwards of 225 days per year chasing ducks, geese, and swans worldwide. And I don't choose shotguns for their brand name or the cool factor. Y'all know me way better than that. I've shot Benelli for over 2 decades. I continue shooting Benelli shotguns for their simplicity, utter reliability, and superior performance. Whether hunting near home or halfway across the world, that is the stuff that matters. Sit means sit and stay until it doesn't. No matter how well or how often trained, retrievers want those ducks as badly as we do, maybe even more. Chardog might be titled, but she's still just a dog. I'm over 50 years old and I still do dumb stuff, trust me. Retrievers are family. I wouldn't endanger my children near heavy traffic, and I'm not going to risk my dog jumping in front of blazing guns either. Gundog Outdoors' patented quick-release safety system is fully adjustable, tethers to any blind or stand, has titanium stakes for frozen ground, and a quick-release marine-grade shackle to quickly release Fido when the smoke clears. Visit gundogoutdoors.com. Connect with them on Instagram at Gundog Outdoors to see their growing line of Gundog safety and performance products. Enter hashtag GetDucks to receive 15% discount off of your first order. Boss Shot Shell's copper-plated bismuth tin alloy is the good old days again. Steel shots come a long way in the past 30 years, but will never, ever perform like good old-fashioned lead. Say goodbye to all that gimmicky, high recoil, compensation, science, hype, and hello to superior performance. Know your pattern, take ethical shots, make clean kills. That is the boss way. The good old days are now. It really is duck season somewhere for 365 days per year. Duck Season Somewhere takes me year-round to worldwide destinations where I visit with the most interesting people. I'm your host, Ramsey Russell. Join me here to listen to those conversations. Man, have I got a great episode of Duck Season Somewhere for y'all today. I'm still in New Jersey because it is Duck Season Somewhere today. It's Duck Season in New Jersey. We went out and shot more black ducks and shot some Brant. Shot a bonus Canada goose that was mixed up with the wrong crowd. He come in with those Brant. We shot some, of course, divers and sea ducks and stuff like that. I threw sea ducks in there for good measure. That's not one true. I'm presently at the Tuckerton Seaport Bayman Museum in Tuckerton, New Jersey. Why? Well, because that's where I wanted to meet today's guest. You know, New Jersey has got a very rich and colorful history in the annals of American duck hunting. And I think y'all are going to find today's conversation extremely interesting like I did. Bob, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm fine. Did you go duck hunting this morning?
Nah, I had to work this morning, but Monday morning right before I ended up going.
And?
Yeah, we ended up getting a few black ducks, a goose, and time will tell there's a little winged mallard hanging around the marsh somewhere that I couldn't find, neither could my dog.
Yeah. I don't know where to start. You know, it's a... I'm going to start here. What is the significance of New Jersey to duck hunting? Because now, you know what, if you ask the average duck hunter today that did not live in the Atlantic Flyway, or especially in New Jersey, about New Jersey, they'd shrug and say Sopranos or Boardwalk Empire. I mean, really, you know, but we're almost like in the cradle of American duck hunting right here.
Yes, we are, and that's funny you say Sopranos. When I first got I gunned. My cousin owns a club down in Arkansas, Shoveler's Rest in Cache, Arkansas, which is about 20 minutes north of what was that? I forget the reservoir, but it was one of those duck
Claypool.
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes from there. And we were hunting, and this one old guy, he looked at me and said, "Well, shoot, you're from Jersey? I thought you'd have gold chains on, slick back hair."
Yeah.
I'm like, well, first of all, I'm from South Jersey. There's a big difference between New Jersey and South Jersey.
Uh-huh.
New Jersey is basically all oil refineries and just little New York's puppet. South Jersey, we're basically Alabama. We're the same as the South.
Y'all talk different than Alabama, but you know what it really is? It's wooded, it's forested. There's a lot of water, a lot of hunters. It's. I would say that it's a lot more like Alabama than New York City. That's for damn sure.
But back to what you asked, the tradition of gunning or duck hunting in South Jersey, New Jersey in general, has dated back to going the early 1800s when settlers first showed up. They in the winter months they saw all these ducks flying by, and they had crude weapons, the flintlock, and they wanted to try to get it. So around 1830 in Tuckerton area, West Creek area, a man named Hazelton Seaman created a gunning boat called a Devil's Coffin to come up into the shallow water of marsh and gun the ducks. Well, after a while, the name was changed to a Barnegat Bay sneakbox.
I'll be.
So sneakbox originated. It's 12 foot long, 4.5 foot wide, shallow draft, and a displacement hull, which was you could row it, sail it. Now you can put a outboard on it. But they started gunning, and during the time it was just crude market gunning. You'd go out there with a 2-gauge, 4-gauge, and a punt gun and just flock them. In the Barnegat Bay area, we used to have rafts of broadbills that would black out the day sky. They were so thick. So they would just drift over and scull over to them and fire the punt gun into the flock, which flocking it was called. And then around 1890s, I believe that was outlawed federally. So that just went into sportsman hunting and hunting to survive after the market hunting stopped, which also turned around to gun clubs being made.
We'll back up just a minute, Bob. What was you were telling me something about earlier today about the decoys and about the significance of where Tuckerton is located and how your thoughts are that the carved decoy originated here.
Yes, Tuckerton and the Barnegat Bay decoy or Tuckerton decoy. There's within a 30-mile area from Tom's River to Tuckerton. It's a large body of water called Barnegat Bay, Manahawkin Bay, Tuckerton Bay, and Great Bay. Mm-hmm. It was all considered in my notes as the third port of entry for the Continental Congress back before we were the United States of America.
Third port of entry.
And what that means, we had big trade and trading options to go through the country. And that deemed market hunting and gunning in general, they needed supplies. And instead of going to taking a ship or taking a horse-drawn carriage out to Philadelphia to work and buy shotguns, whatever they deemed, we have to start doing it ourselves. So guys around, they started carving their own decoys. Now, whoever originated the decoy in South Jersey is hard to tell, but there were a few. Joe King is always one that comes to mind, who was a little north of us in Eagleswood, Manahawkin. His dates back to around the Civil War era. We don't know an exact date, but most decoys are around the Civil War era that he was carving. There was also J.G. Downs, who carved here in Tuckerton which they all similarly resembles their own decoys. Then coming in, and those decoys, they became so well known, they were actually shipped via train down to other gunning clubs outside of New Jersey.
Wow.
I have one of Joe King's. It's a black duck. It was actually shipped to the Atomic Club down in Virginia or Maryland. I forget exactly where it's at. But the only reason we know that is the Atomic Club, they made silver dollar decoy weights, and they poured them themselves, and it was about the size of the silver dollar. You look under the decoy I have, and there's 2 silver dollars weighted on the bottom of the boat, and
golly,
that's the only reason we know that his decoys ended up being shipped. And then you can see similarities from Maryland carvers and Jersey decoys. There's a few that they'll resemble a Tuckerton guy. He's basically known as the grandfather of decoy carving in Jersey, Harry V. Shorts.
Yeah, I've heard of, yeah.
Shorts he lived right across the creek here where we're standing, only 400 yards away, and he was the first ever commercial decoy carver. He was considered. The exact number isn't known, but his decoys now are in original paint are worth upwards of over $100,000.
Yeah, I've heard a quarter. I've heard 200. Yeah, wow, that's incredible, isn't it?
It is.
He'd probably be rolling in his grave knowing how he gave them things away for a quarter.
There's I don't own it, but I've seen it. There's a receipt that he carved that he wrote out to a guy for Long Beach Island. 12 geese decoys for $24. If you bought 12 geese decoys or goose decoys from in an auction today, you'd be looking over $1 million.
Yeah.
Just for some old cedar hollow wood decoys.
And you probably wouldn't throw them in the bottom of a Barnegat Bay sneakbox and take them out hunting.
I mean, I might be that crazy one that does, because I still do that. When I buy a new decoy that was at auction, I have to throw it back in the water because that's what it was deemed to do.
Right.
Granted, if I paid $100,000 for a bird, I might not, but it'd be in my back head. I got to throw some line onto this and see how she floats in the water.
I got some friends like it, and I sure do. Tell me this. Let's back way up. What? You're born and raised here.
Yep.
Your dad and granddad. Did you grow up hunting? What is your hunting origin?
My hunting origin is my dad hunted, my grandfather, both sides of my family hunted. I'm a 5th generation out of Tuckerton here, and I even have, from what I was told, my 2nd great grandfather was a market gunner here on Barnegat Bay.
Wow.
I wish I had his punk gun because I'd probably end up, but I'm glad I don't. I'd end up getting too much trouble taking out some bufflehead or a big flock of black ducks on the marsh. But
I can see where that'd be trouble today.
Yeah. But I grew up on the bay. My family and we own a marina right here on the creek. But I grew up around decoys, boats, not just even duck hunting. There's pheasant hunting, deer hunting. I mean, right now, if I'm not duck hunting, I'd be out in the woods. This is 6-day firearm shotgun week for Jersey. Or as I like to say, the Orange Army. You have the deer clubs walking
Buck
through the
week,
woods.
I heard it called.
Buck week. Just guys walking through the woods yelling, "Yo, buck," hoping a 6-pointer, 8-pointer run out in front of them. Mm-hmm. But other than that, that's all I really know is duck hunting, going out in a boat, clamming. My roots are so deep here, if they even cut my roots, I'd still be stuck.
What did growing up around your family, did you ever hear any stories? Did your granddad or anybody tell you any stories about his daddy being a market hunter? Did you ever hear? Did
I didn't
any
hear
oral tradition passed down on that?
No, there wasn't too much because it was just so long ago. But there has been stories. I know of one. My grandfather, when he was young, he was going out black duck hunting with a friend of his, and one of the old Tuckerton guys, I forget his name, I forget right now, but they were sitting in a pit blind, which is basically just a pit dug into the marsh, and you're right on the side of the water waiting for them. And it's right before light, and the gentleman told my grandfather and his buddy, don't shoot until it's light. Well, they're sitting there waiting, all happy that they're hunting with this old timer, and all they hear is bang, bang. And my grandfather yelled out to him and said, you told us not to shoot until light. He said, you're right, I did, but these 2 black ducks were right there. I had to.
Yeah. You know, that reminds me of a time hunting down in Mississippi with an old timer, very, very old timer. And we went to an oxbow. He just come into the shop one day and we started talking. And next thing I know, he calls me up and I said, yeah, I'll go out there with you in the morning. And my old battery operated light, there was a narrow spot, real dense cypress we had to go through. And that's right when my battery operated light decided to go out. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get there? He's like, oh, just calm down. And his eyes adjusted to the black. He started pointing. So I navigated through the cypress, and he said, now, where'd you want to go? I said, well, I thought we'd go to the mouth of Tippo out there. Right there in the pitch black dark, he took me. He'd been hunting that place for 60, 70 years since the end of World War II. And I pulled up my blind. The ducks were flying. As a matter of fact, that was the last black duck I ever saw in the state of Mississippi. This was 20 years ago.
Okay.
And I started shooting ducks. I'm like, Mr. Golden, getting close to the limit here, you might want to shoot. And he said, boy, he had a single shot Sears and Roebuck shotgun. He says, I hadn't shot a flying duck in 50 years, and I don't intend to start this morning. And it's fun hunting with them old timers. They do it their way or no way.
It's funny you said about the light. I have one good friend that he stopped gunning in 2013, but I still talk to him all the time. I told him how my buddy likes to have a big LED light bar on his boat, and he likes to drive through the marsh, getting to the spot early. And he always tells me, you can't have that light. That light will scare up every black duck in the marsh when you're going out there. You go out in the pitch of black. If it has to take you 2 hours, it takes you 2 hours. You just got to leave early. But if the second you shine a light on the water next to the marsh, that black duck's going to either wake up and swim away, or he's just going to leave, and you'll never see him again until the next morning.
You believe that?
I don't have a spotlight.
Well, I didn't see any LED lights on your boat out front.
I have a little light, just little one that just in case I break down, the light goes SOS on it if my phone dies, but I like to let my eyes adjust and run those marsh.
Back in the day, and I still know people that'll just blaze off into rice fields or wherever they're going with four-wheelers, throw out their decoys and back off a little ways and go in and walk back to the blind and hunt. And I don't like to do it that way. I really think there is a lot to be said for just like the holes I hunt back home on our camp. I like to see the shine of the water. I know where I'm going. I see the outline of that willow tree or those clump of button bushes. I've hunted there for 20 years, and to me, it's a lot of satisfaction walking as quietly and with as little light as I can. I actually see better in dark once I let my eyes adjust than I do with that little. Because when I put that beam of light on, all I see is where that beam of light is. But I know where I am when I start seeing outlines, and it is a little satisfying to get your decoys out and walk back to your tree and sit there and hear ducks quacking around you, so you know you didn't scare them all off. You know, I like that way.
I had one day, I set all the stools out, we placed them, and I'm just sitting there. It's maybe 5:30 in the morning, another hour and a half until shooting time. I'm just sitting there, and all you hear, just like you said, you hear quacking. And then I start seeing silhouettes, and I had black ducks swimming through the decoys, and they didn't know what they were. They said, that looks like a duck, so I'm just going to swim over. They must have some food over there. And they sat there until shooting time.
Really?
And then we unloaded on them.
Yeah, of course. What are some of your early recollections growing up hunting with your dad and granddad, who, judging from you, are very traditional hunters?
Growing up, my earliest duck hunting trip, I remember getting into my dad's Garvey, and we were going out to Horsefoot Cove here in Tuckerton, and we were going to go diver hunting. So we go out. He throws a rig of herders that he painted up. They were black ducks, but he painted up as bufflehead and broadbill, just because he liked the bigger body decoys than me. So I remember just sitting there freezing to death because it was middle January and all I had was a pair of Carhartts, some rubber boots, and I'm just sitting in a pond box next to him. And he said, "All right, these ducks are dumb, but you can't move. We can talk all you want until they start coming in, but you can't move. Their eyesight's too good." So we ended up sitting there, and I remember he crippled one, this hen broadbill. He crippled her swimming her way, but she was going with the tide, so he didn't want our dog to go out and get him. He said, "Bobby, here, you go get it." He gives me a single shot H&R 410, and he said, Go hit that cripple again, and then we'll go out in the boat and get it." I said, "But Dad, I'm only 6. I'm not allowed to hunt." He said, "It's 410. You're not going to fall on your butt. It's not going to hurt. Just go and shoot it." So I get out of the box, walk over to marsh where he's running away, and with him moving so fast just from swimming and going with the tide, he told me to lead him a little bit. So I hit him. I shot, ended up hitting him, and we went and get it. Hen broadbill, beautiful in full plumage. And what she got on her? She got a little piece of jewelry on her leg.
Really?
Yeah. I still have that. It sits in my gun safe.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you shot many bands?
I've only shot about 4 or 5. That's about it. So
Yeah.
Not too many. I know a bunch of guys that always get bands. They're just luckier than me. But I'm not in it just to shoot bands. I'm in it more for the tradition.
I knew that the minute you pulled up. You pulled up in a Chevrolet truck, pulling a 12-foot boat by about 4 foot wide, very traditional Barnegat Bay sneakbox. Tell me, did you make that yourself?
I made it myself with my grandfather and dad helping me. That was about the second boat I helped build, but that was the first one I was lead builder on it instead of looking over the shoulder of my grandparent and dad. We made it a little bigger. I wanted a elongated cockpit. Not that I'm a big guy, but I like having foot room. I hate sitting in a sneak box and my waders are stuck up underneath the ribs of the boat.
Yeah.
So we elongated the cockpit. That was all my idea. And after I started cutting it, my grandfather walks over. He's like, "The hell are you doing? Where are you going to put the decoys?" I said, "We're going to put them on the bow or in a bag." He's like, "I don't." And he walked away.
You young whippersnappers.
He was all. Then he sees it when it's all said and done, and he sits in it, and he's like, "Huh, I should have thought of this 50 years ago. This would have been nice." I said, "Yeah, that's why it's the Cadillac."
Yeah.
But no, the sneak box that I built, they're white cedar, or swamp cedar as I call it, Jersey cedar, all white, no knots. And the ribs we did oak. Normally they're made with cedar or oak, and it's all traditional. It floats right, but the difference in my sneak box and a regular one, like a sailing one, mine's a planing hull. So it'll plane, instead of the bow just sticking up when you have the outboard on it and pushing in the water, she'll actually plane over.
Yeah, I see.
And you'll go a little bit faster. Not that it's a speed demon with a 15 horse, but I go about 20 miles an hour instead of 10. So, But it's the safest 12-foot boat I've ever been in, and I can guarantee it'll be for anybody that doesn't know anything about boats.
What'd y'all make it from? What kind of materials did y'all make it from?
White cedar, swamp cedar. So it's just wood and some fiberglass and silicone bronze screws.
And were you telling me your granddad also opposed to you using fiberglass?
Yes, my grandfather hated that I used fiberglass. When he said he never owned a boat with fiberglass on it. He always had wood boats. When I was about 6 years old, he built me a 12-foot Garvey, which is another Jersey-style boat. It's flat bottom, shallow draft. He built it for me, and he said, "You have to cotton it, seam compound it, and painting it every year. So there's young me up until about 14 years old that was still pulling the cotton out every winter.
What do you mean cotton it?
When you cotton the seams of a boat, they're about 1/8 of an inch wide to about 1/4 inch, and cedar will swell. It's almost as tight as a frog's butt, but it helps it when there's cotton. You run a line of cotton, like from a shirt or boat cotton.
Yeah.
You push it in the seams, and then put seam compound over it. So like a caulk or silicone.
Yeah.
That wood will get wet, and that cotton will get wet. She'll get so tight that water will not leak at all through it. She'll just sit there watertight until you pull it out of the water.
Oh, be dang. You know, hunting over in Azerbaijan, people have heard me maybe describe this before, and some of the short films and pictures we've taken, it's very, very, very traditional hunting. They've got these tiny little pirogues, just flat bottom, 12-foot boats. The guy standing back, and it's just raw lumber.
Yeah.
Put together, and skiff drafts in real shallow water, but they literally just caulk it with mud.
Yeah.
They'll come in after before the hunt and dip the water and caulk it with mud, and off we go hunting. And if it leaks a little bit while we're hunting, they'll re-caulk it.
Yeah.
You know, reach down and grab the clay and caulk it and come on back in. It's just simple.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's all a Garvey basically is a pirogue or a bateau.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the Garvey originated. It originated. The Garvey itself was created here in the 1700s, but it was off the same design as an English bateau or a French bateau, just flat bottom, slab sides, and just to get into shallow draft water.
I noticed you. That's your hunting boat you came up in. Still got your shotgun cased up and laying down in it. Your decoy, your bag of decoys, and it's a tiny bag of decoys.
Yes. Up here in this area, I was always taught by my grandfather and a bunch of old-timers, you don't need a lot of decoys. And I was always told you got to use 7 black ducks for a puddle duck rig, 7 black ducks and 1 seagull. You got to have a seagull decoy for confidence for black ducks. They're very smart animals.
They're wary. Black ducks are very wary.
They do not like going anywhere where they've never been before. And I was always taught you throw a seagull out there, they'll be more comfortable in their surroundings, because when you're scouting and you're looking, you'll see black ducks, but you'll always see a seagull or a blue heron or an egret. They'll be there because the heron, the seagull, they're not that they're skittish, but they know when something's not right. Mm-hmm. So they'll always leave in high time. So I've always run 7 black ducks and the seagull for the 8th decoy. And I've been not ridiculed, but always laughed at the boat ramp or something. You'll see guys coming, you only go out with that many decoys? I said, well, that's all you need. Tell me anywhere up here in Jersey that you see a flock of 40 black ducks in one area, except maybe inside the marsh where they're sleeping or bedding down. I said,
how do you put those 7 or 8 decoys out? Are they in one big group?
No, I spread them out as far as they can go.
One here, 2 there.
They're normally in pairs. So the ones I showed you, they're rigged up as pairs, and then I'll have a single here and there. And the pairs they'll go, so I'd probably say 20 yards apart, 30 yards apart, because from what I've always noticed, black ducks, they hang out together, but they were ahead of the COVID-19.
Yeah,
they like to social distance themselves from everybody, even their own kind. So
where do you put the seagull?
The seagull's far out in the flock. That's maybe 60, 80 yards away. That's so far away from everybody. But they know they'll see that white and be like, all right, we're pretty good. They'll see the white head of that seagull. I've gotten a couple looks from the wardens when they stop me, thinking I'm hunting seagulls.
What do you when you would think, being from around here, they'd know. What when you go out, that's your target is black ducks. Mm-hmm. Do you shoot anything else that comes in, or?
It really depends what I'm what I feel like doing. I mean, you'll have bufflehead, you'll have gadwall, mallards will come in. Then you'll have like hooded mergansers or just common mergansers. You'll have everything come in. But if I'm black duck hunting, I don't. To me at least, I don't see the need to shoot another duck if it comes in, because if I'm not actively targeting it, I'm not going to shoot it.
That's what I'm trying to establish. I mean, around here, the way you're set up with the Barnegat Bay boat, with your traditional spread of 7 black ducks and a seagull, you're morning. You get up in the morning to go duck hunting. You're chasing a limit of black ducks too.
Yeah.
How was your duck season not too long ago when the limit was 1 black duck?
For a lot of guys, it was probably a terrible time. For me, it didn't matter. I mean, you can ban duck hunting tomorrow on me. I'm still going to go out there and throw my decoys and watch the birds work. To me, it's not about killing. The limit could be 30 black ducks. If I shoot 1, I'm happy. I don't, because I know what I'll eat, and I know I'm not going to go and just keep killing to kill, because that's just what I'm not about that. I'm more of tradition. I want to keep it going, and whoever I can teach, you don't need to go out and shoot 40 ducks to be a good duck hunter. You can go out and shoot 1 duck and be a great duck hunter because you know how they work.
Right.
You know how the animals work. You know where they're flying. You know their fly path. You know that they like these certain areas this time of month. And you know when you're going out, well, you can sort of tell a juvenile duck from a full-grown adult duck. At least I'm pretty good at it, I can tell. But other than that, it won't affect me at all. If
you play a clean game, that's kind of how I describe it. You go out, it's one thing, say the limit's 6, when you're hunting down south. It's one thing if you could have shot 6 and come back with 1, but something else if you could only have shot 1 and you killed him.
Yeah.
You play that clean game. And it's a drake or it's this. I'll admit to you this. I've hunted Mexican ducks down in the Sonoran Desert, and by gosh, I can spot a drake. Now, they're dark, mallard-like birds. And not as dark as a black duck, more like a mottled duck. But the drakes are notably bigger. If there's some sunshine, you can see the bill. She quacks, he doesn't. And I feel 99% certain I can pull the trigger and kill the drake if that's the deal. And I've tried that down here the last few mornings shooting black ducks, and that doesn't work. If the sun is right, but often it's not always just hanging low where you can see the bills perfectly.
Yeah.
They're above you and the sun's below or something like that, and the lighting is sometimes tough. And I've had a hard time just judging by size. A big duck and a little duck come by, I shoot the big duck, it's a big hen. That's tough hunting those black ducks like that.
Then you also have those the real migratory black ducks, those big Canadians that come. I don't know if you've come across them yet here, but you're talking a regular Jersey black duck's about 16 inches long, sort of thin, not too fat. But then you'll get these monster Canadian black ducks that come in, and they're just massive to the size. The one
big red leg,
big red, big old bill, big old head. They're just monsters.
We've shot some. I've shot some smaller ones and some bigger ones. Forrest shot one few days ago, maybe last week. Days were running together over New York that was just ginormous. Had real reddish orange legs and just absolutely stunning. We shot a couple of his close cousins down here too.
Yeah.
But that's just it. Given a choice, our host, asked us today at the boat ramp, well, do y'all want to go try Brant tomorrow or black ducks? I'm like, black ducks. Yeah. Something about them. I love them.
Now they're abundance up here, but I know in the outside of the Atlantic they're pretty scarce.
Yes, sir. They get harder as you go west. What do you ever target Brant? Do you ever hunt Brant?
I hunt Brant. I do it maybe twice a year, just out of tradition. Brant's probably my favorite bird to gun. They're the best looking bird in my opinion. I love how they look just in the water. I love how they're just chirping at each other. And I always done a traditional Tuckerton and Brant shoot, just me and a couple buddies. We throw out about a rig of 18 Brant, just sit there, let them chirp. You'll never shoot. I've always told my buddy, you don't shoot them on the first pass. You got to wait, because that's them just checking you out. That second pass, they come back, you unload on them, let them wait, and then you just sit back down. They'll circle again. They're not the smartest animal in the world. They're
I like a dumb duck and a dumb goose.
Other than snow geese destroying their population up in Nova Scotia, it's just because they're dumb. They're dumb. They're not that. You shoot at them, you lay back down, they're like, oh, look, I'm over here again.
Yeah.
But it's just fun to go. I mean, Jersey has just had an abundance from decoy makers and just going around looking of Brant. From the whole Jersey coast, you won't find one decoy maker that hasn't made a Brant decoy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, however, their interpretation of a Brant. That's what I love about our Jersey decoys. It's you see influences from each area. You have general idea of on where the bird came from or who carved it. But a decoy, to me, it's the eye of the beholder.
Mm-hmm.
He carved that bird because that's how it looks like to him.
Mm-hmm.
And to go off top, that's the reason I started carving, other than tradition. I hated going out and having plastic decoys, because I knew our area had an abundance of decoy makers and just rich tradition. So I'd say, well, I'm going to try to learn, carve. My family never carved. They always bought decoys, but I had a couple good friends, older friends, that they've carved their whole lives, and they took me under their wing. And life's too short to me to hunt over a plastic decoy, because if you can have something yourself that you physically made, whether it's crude and the paint's not good on it, but if it brings a duck into you, and if you get it or not, you're not mad. You're amazed that animal thought highly enough that your bird worked. So that's how I've always looked at it. But I know I ramble a lot. But back to the Brant, they just have.
Well, I was digging the conversation because I had a brief spell a long time ago. I still haven't painted a dozen of them, but I did carve some decoys, and I don't take them out all the time. They're big, clunky cork, not nearly as attractive as that. They don't have a style. I just decided to carve some and bought a few patterns and chopped away and sawed away, and didn't know what in the heck I was doing. But it's unbelievable when I kill ducks over them. I've killed ducks over them. It takes it to this level of connection. I can't explain it, and it doesn't have to be art. It doesn't have to be super realistic. I mean, I am absolutely determined to go shoot ducks, to film shooting ducks over black pop bottles.
Yeah,
because we're hunting an animal with a pea-sized brain. You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't take the latest, greatest, most scientific anything to hunt this bird. It's just the fundamentals. But when I think about decoy carving, and I think about being in that shop and how it smelled when that wood, that pine, and just the thoughts. What are you thinking about while you're carving decoys? I'm thinking about killing ducks. I'm thinking about how this duck's going to look sitting in the water, how that duck is going to react, and it takes that to a whole new level.
Oh yeah, I'm the same way. When I'm sitting there carving, I'm just sitting there smelling the cedar, because Jersey birds are made out of cedar. They're not pine. They're all white cedar heads, white cedar bodies, and they're hollow or dug out. But we hollow all the decoys out so they're lighter. But I'm sitting there thinking, how's this bird going to look in the water? Is the paint realistic enough to me that it'll look like a black duck when a black duck's flying over? Is he going to look and say, that looks like one of my guys? So So that's all and just.
How old are you, Bob?
I'm only 28 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're a very young man to be so traditional.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, I find it interesting that you're about the age that a lot of guys are still in that phase where something else matters than tradition.
Yeah.
When I was 28 years old, I'm going to tell you, I was a bloodthirsty killer, and I just wanted to have a strap every time, and I threw as many decoys as it took, and went and hard and whatever, that guy. I was in a totally different place when I was 28 years old. How did you end up? How did you end up here, and why is hunting over 8 wooden decoys in a boat you built yourself so important?
To me, it just has to be. My roots are deep here in South Jersey. I'm a 5th generation out of Tuckerton. I was always instilled and drug in my head. My family always said, your name's the best thing you have for you. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You got to have a good name, and you just got to keep traditions alive, because if you don't keep traditions alive, you're going to lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
You could be the richest man in the world, but if you forgot where you came from, it doesn't matter what you have.
Absolutely. That's very well said. You talk about those black ducks, how many you can eat. Do you have a favorite way you like to cook black ducks and Brant and some of these other species you shoot?
Black ducks, I like roasting them. Just a roasted black duck. Throw an onion in the cavity. Put a little orange. Put some orange zest over top of it and just roast it.
Salt, pepper, a little orange zest.
Yeah, that's about it. That, and then
pick an onion in the cavity, and then put it in the oven, 350 degrees.
Yeah, for about 40 minutes. So it's like a medium rare, basically, like steak. That, and then my girlfriend, she was just tried duck for the first time last Wednesday night. Had black duck first time, and I wasn't going to roast it for her because I sort of a acquired taste when you're roasting it with the orange and the onion. So what I did was I breasted it for her, and I did a maple cayenne glaze.
Elaborate. I want to hear more about this.
All right, so I pan-seared. I kept the skin on the breast and the fat. Pan-seared it. Put the breast in the pan when it's cold, and then just with a little butter, salt, and pepper. Pan-sear both sides so it gets just good. You put the maple glaze on it as it's in. Then you just put it in the oven once it's pan-seared. So
what do you call maple syrup?
So you get about a cup of maple syrup and a quarter ounce of cayenne pepper, and a tablespoon of brown sugar. Mix that all together. Let that all sit and render. You have that duck breast in the oven for about 4 minutes. You pull it out.
I'm gonna back up now. I'm gonna put it skin down on the pan with the butter. Flip it over for a little bit. Sear it both sides. Put it in the oven.
Put it in the oven at 425.
Yeah.
For 4 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Pull it out. Glaze the one side.
Yeah.
Put it back in for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Pull it out.
4 minutes again.
4 minutes again with the glaze side up. Pull back out. Put that second glaze on the other side, on the opposite side.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it out of the oven for 5 minutes.
Let it rest for 5 minutes.
Let it rest. Let that pan that's still hot get that glaze onto the top.
Mm-hmm.
And set it and forget it.
When you're browning your meat like that, both sides in the skillet, you're not running it real high and just putting a hard sear on it, are you?
No, you're starting the pan cold. So because with a duck, it's fatty.
That's right.
You let that fat render in the pan with it, so you get all that good flavor. You flip it on both sides, so you get a nice brown sear on it.
You going by? Are you timing it or going by?
I'm going by look.
Okay.
Every duck's different to me.
See, I do something very similar. I get the skillet hot, a little bit of fat, boom, throw it hot. 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. I make a glaze.
Yeah.
Butter, bourbon, jelly, something another.
Oh yeah.
and then put it on. And when I pull it out of the oven for 4 minutes, it's done. When you cook it this way, is it still medium rare?
It's a little past medium rare.
Okay.
It's about a medium.
Okay.
I wasn't going to throw a medium rare on.
Yeah. Good way to
for never having it.
Yeah.
So, and then for Brant, you'll like this Brant recipe.
I will.
All right. You breast the Brant. That's all you do. You breast it. You put it on a cedar log with salt and pepper.
Yeah.
Then you put it in the grill. Wait for that log, smoke, get that nice aroma. When the Brant's a nice cooked color, you pull it out, you look at it.
Come on.
You throw that Brant in the trash and start gnawing on the wood. Come
on.
I swear to you.
No. I'm gonna do you one better than that because we're gonna post something. We're gonna post something on. I was scared here. I was taking notes, thinking.
No,
I that old joke coming.
I make Brant jerky. That's about it.
Well, my host here.
There are ways to cook it.
I ate some the other night and sawed up real nice. And I'm like, man, this is good. He goes, well, that's Brant. I go, no way, man, because Atlantic Brant is terrible. Everybody for 20 years said you can't eat them. He said, well, you're eating them. And I said, well, that's good.
Well, it all depends, too. If you get them early season, they're really not too bad. I would cook them like a black duck. Once you get mid-season, January, when they really get into that cabbage grass, and you really look at their butt and it's green, you don't want to eat that because all you taste is that seaweed and cabbage and that salt cabbage.
I'd have to take the fat. I know he's taking the fat off and he is soaking it in. He's gonna show me tonight. We're gonna eat some soy sauce and some different things and grilling it. And and I posted that up the other day. And somebody's like, oh well, that's some kind of. He's messing with you. That's pulling your leg. That's Chuck roast. And it ain't. It's Brant. It was good.
Nah.
And he cooks. And I've heard that a lot of these marsh black ducks will get strong too.
They get strong. That's why you got to brine. I forgot to say I brined it for 2 days.
Brined it for 2 days.
Yeah.
Salt water.
Just brine it. First day, after you breast it, sit there in salt water, rinse and repeat the next day.
Okay.
Because up here in Jersey, you get that real strong saltwater marsh flavor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough to get out. I mean, and you won't get it completely out. I even had it when I had it on Wednesday. I'm like, oh, that piece there. He was eating some mud right there.
Mm-hmm. Do your dad and granddad still duck hunt?
No, they don't.
Why?
My grandfather, when they back in the 80s, when they dropped it down to 2 black duck.
Yeah.
He said, it's not worth my time anymore to take a party out to kill 2 black ducks apiece.
Was he a guide?
He was a guide.
Okay. Wow. I bet people would pay him to.
Yeah, but he was remembering growing up with his dad. They would just gun black ducks because that was a source of food for him. And when you can't do that anymore, he stopped gunning. Now, he gunned with me once when I was a kid, and my dad stopped gunning just because he didn't feel it anymore. He just, not that he lost interest, but he just didn't want to anymore. He got tired of gunning. He just wanted to relax.
Sure.
Which, I understand that, but he did say when I have kids, he'll go out gunning with me.
Marsh hunting is arduous.
Yes, it is.
It takes a little effort to get out there in that marsh. Even if you're running mud motors and aluminum boats, it's a mess. It's a mess getting out there and doing that kind of stuff. Do your dad and granddad ever talk about anything else that's changed besides the limits? Do they ever talk about the good old days, what it used to be like?
They talk about the less of ducks. They don't believe there's as much ducks anymore than there were. I mean, my dad was, when he was growing up, you were still allowed to bait ducks.
Wow.
So, and my grandfather, that's all they knew was throwing out 400 pounds of corn on a Friday night and baiting those broadbill and bufflehead and black ducks in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they miss. They miss being because my grandfather always had an idea of it. When they started building up the area, you started losing more habitat for the ducks to come and stay.
Mm-hmm.
There's one area he always talked about, Reamson Meadows, which is now called Beach Haven West. Massive development of just, it was all on marsh.
Wow.
And that would hold thousands of black ducks, he would say. And people would bait them, so they had a food income, but there was also natural food there for them.
Mm-hmm.
There was going back into the fresh water. You had the wild rice that they would come in and swim. But once you start taking out habitat, there's not really anything for a duck to come and stay.
Sure.
So, I mean, I've always been a component to say, let us bait. I'm allowed to bait for deer. Why can't I bait for a duck?
That's a good question, and I don't know. I mean, if the limit's 6, the limit's 6. What does it matter if I shoot them at night?
Yeah.
Over corn
Mm-hmm.
with an unplugged shotgun? I'm not saying we should do that. I'm just saying why not?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. But I understand where they're coming. They don't want because not everyone's gonna retain to 2 black ducks or 1 black duck, whatever the limit is.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to sit there and have 400 pounds of corn and sit there for 8 hours and take every duck out there. A select few will, and that's
some will. A few bad apples.
and that's what hurts us.
Last question I've got is you were showing me some real interesting research you had done before we started recording. You're working on a book project about. Tell me a little bit about this project.
I'm working on basically a picture history book of the Barnegat Bay gunning clubs of my area, starting from Barnegat Inlet all the way south to the mouth of the Mullica River.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been doing the research about 4 years, and there's been over 100 gunning clubs, duck hunting clubs in our area, which is only 30 miles wide or 30 miles long.
Wow. Well, what happened to all those camp houses? I mean, tell me a little bit more
There's
about it.
All the gunning clubs, there's 4 of them left out of over 100. And the reason for that is they're privately owned, but back in the 70s, early 80s, actually a great initiative came around. Edwin B. Forsythe wildlife management area came, and they bought up all the marsh for protection, so you can't build on it anymore. But with that, you lost leases. So these marshes, these gunning clubs were on leased land from property owners. And when the federal government came in, those leases expired. So either the gun clubs, they became dilapidated and run down and just fell into the water.
So Forsyth is a federal refuge.
Yes, it's a federal refuge.
Okay, National Wildlife Refuge.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's crazy. That's too bad. A lot of history.
Mm-hmm. And
what are some of the interesting stories and stuff you've come across?
I've come across, there is a really famous club right inside of Barnegat Inlet called the Sedge Island Club.
Mm-hmm.
That is now owned by the state of New Jersey as a water research and wildlife research area. It's the original clubhouse still, which dated back to the early 1880s. That had President Grover Cleveland as a regular guest there to go gunning. We have photos of Grover Cleveland at it. I can even look through the book. I probably have one in here of him standing there. Then there was, coming closer to us here, Carvel Island Club in Surf City, New Jersey. That was a big hub for Babe Ruth.
Wow.
Babe Ruth loved gunning here with another famous baseball player that was from the area. His name was Doc Kramer.
Huh.
Doc Kramer played the same time Babe did and introduced Babe to gunning down here. So he would come with there's even one picture of Babe fishing with Doc and Lou Gehrig.
Wow.
But there's one story that an old-timer, he's 96 right now. I still sit in and talk with him sometimes. He was about 13 years old at the one club, Dinner Point Club, and his dad was had Babe as a guest.
How big dang.
Well, Babe came up by boat in a big fur jacket. Come up to the clubhouse, and they started drinking at like 3 in the afternoon until 8:30 at night. So in the morning, he was still a little 3 shades to the wind. And he ended up coming out, getting ready to go into a boat, big fur jacket on still, falls into the mud. Well, Babe was a bigger guy at the time, he told me, and got stuck. Couldn't get him out. Had to call another gunning guide from another club to help him get out of the marsh, and his jacket was ruined, covered in bay mud, smelt. So the man's dad told him, you got to go take this jacket in the sneakbox, and you got to row it around the bay to get all this marsh mud on it, off of it. So he ended up doing that. That same day, Babe's in the pit blind, and he gets up to go to the bathroom, drops his gun in the mud. Says they checked. Babe said he checked it, said it was all good, clean. He shoots, barrel blows up right in his face.
Golly.
But that gun's still around. It's in a private collection in Manahawk, and Babe's gun he used.
Oh, be dang.
But there's pictures of Babe that he wrote to the clubhouses, to the Carvel Island Club, to thank them for gunning them. I should have it here.
That's an impressive collection you've got of some old photos and stories and stuff.
Like when I say pit blind, the pit blind in the marsh.
Yeah.
It's dug right in there like you'd out.
And lumbered up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where is?
Mm-hmm.
But these are all of the history. Here we go.
There it is. Yeah. Look at that.
Yep. And that was a signed picture that Babe wrote to his one gunning guide, Rube Corliss.
That'd get him into some good places to hunt, wouldn't it? Look at that.
It would.
That's interesting. That's very good. Well, Bob, I sure do appreciate you coming by. How can anybody listening connect with you in social media? Or
they could connect to me. I'm on it, but I don't really post all the time. My Instagram, which is just Bobby_Keeney. And then the same with Facebook. That's about it.
Is it Bobby_Keeney or Keeney_Bobby?
I have no clue.
I think it's Keeney_Bobby.
Keeney_Bobby, all lowercase.
There you go.
Yep. That's about that. That's about it. And then Facebook. That's all I'm on, but anyone can message me. I feel free to talking about anybody about gunning and the history of our area.
I sure would like to come back to this area probably next year. I'd like to come back to this area and join you on an authentic Barnegat Bay sneakbox.
Yep.
Barnegat Bay sneakbox duck hunt. I really want to do that. And I might even bring since I've been here, I have got a from Michigan, Ohio, not New York yet, certainly around here. I have got a kind of a growing collection of decoys, black duck decoys building that I'll put my own spread out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And then
I don't have a seagull, but I'll make one.
I can make that happen. I can make a seagull happen.
Yeah.
I can make that happen for you, and definitely I'll put you in a sneak box. I got my own little museum. I got about nine or 10 of them.
Did you build them all?
No. I've restored a bunch, and that's the only one I've built. but I like collecting them because they're hard to come. Not that they're hard to come by in our area, but the ones I have, they all predate the 1950s.
Wow.
So my oldest is was made in Atlantic City by a boat builder, John Van Zant. That's a 1922 sneakbox, and that is all row and sail. There's nothing to it. It's just straight cedar and cotton.
And I just remembered you also gosh, tell me, you won an award. You won something. You won something for building a.
Yes, last year, our area has it's called the Ocean County Decoy and Gunning Club.
Mm-hmm.
It's every September at the end of the month. It just helps the tradition and shows people the same thing we're talking about of the gunning history and decoy history of our area. And they have a boat building competition of who builds a sneak box, a Garvey or a gunning Garvey, which is just a smaller version of the Garvey that's 12 foot. And last year I restored a 1960 Gus Gunther gunning Garvey to that I was given. A good friend of mine gave it to me. He was a guide at the Hester Sedge Gun Club out here in Tuckerton. It was his boat that, it was his. He was given it by his longtime friend that owned Hester Sedge, Walt Johnson. That was built in 1960 out of cherry marine plywood and cedar slab sides. I got it. It was in rough shape, so I restored it using the exact plans that that the builder put in Popular Mechanics magazine back in the 1960s. So I went off the exact specs, and I ended up getting first place for restoration. That was my first blue ribbon at the Decoy show for boat building, boat restoration.
Fantastic.
I've gotten a bunch of second place, third place, but it was an honor to get the blue ribbon. But it's not about ribbons to me. I mean, the one boat I bring every year to the show, I got a third place on when I first started, and the only reason they gave me third was because I made it into a sailing sneak box. It wasn't originally a sailor; it was just an inboard, and I made it into sailor, so that sort of said, we can't give you first, even though it's the nicest one here. But you understand? I said I just like showing people.
Yeah, that's part of it. Folks, y'all been listening to Bob Keeney in Tuckerton, New Jersey. Very traditional duck hunting. Stay tuned for next episode, and thank y'all for listening to Duck Season Somewhere. If you like our podcast, be sure to rate it. Tell all your like-minded duck-killing friends about it. See you next time.